It's nice to see everyone here today. And I offer homage to the Buddha, the Dharma, and to the Sangha. So today I'm going to talk about Shamatha meditation and how it relates to relaxation and how that relates to our larger practice as Zen practitioners, whatever our goal may be with practicing Zen. As many of you know, I work as a psychotherapist. I have a full-time private practice as a psychotherapist, and I also teach at Naropa University and Graduate School of Counseling and Psychology. And so I have this wonderful opportunity to meet with a large variety of people and get data on happiness, personal growth, inner peace, how people do this in different ways and what works for some and what doesn't work for others. And I'll say what I'm noticing more and more in the years that I practice is that, and this might be largely an American thing, but it's probably a world thing, and maybe more in the cultures that are more modernized, is that the experience of relaxation is a foreign concept. A lot of people have a really hard time relaxing. And some of what is happening, I think, is just a busy lifestyle. Birthday parties and weddings to go to, and memorials and jobs, and taking the kids to soccer games and dropping one off at the soccer game and then getting the other one to the gymnastics class, and then doing the rounds and picking them back up again. So there's our lifestyles, and then there's also just anxiety and unsettled energy that human bodies carry. And so the Buddha taught that just to simply have a human body is going to involve discomfort. So just having a human body with the natural pains, but also if someone has trauma in their life, or if they have adverse childhood experiences, which are like examples of those are parents divorcing when you're a child, or a parent who had a substance abuse issue or a gambling problem or sex addiction, parents who were abusive or towards each other, or one was abusive towards the other, children who experience abuse in different ways, emotional, verbal, physical, or sexual. If a child has a parent who is incarcerated, these are what are called ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. All of those things are going to impact a child's experience of safety in the world. Research shows that from the prenatal stage, which is when a child is in the womb, to about 18 months, that period of time, that 9 months plus that 18 months, that period of time is the time when a child develops this great sense of trust and faith and safety in the world, or they don't, or something in the middle. And so if the caregivers were there and 80% of the time when the baby cried, they knew what to do, and that baby got what was needed, then the baby's going to develop the sense that the world is safe and their nervous system will be at ease. But if that baby isn't getting what they needed, and the parents or the caregiver was neglectful, abandoning, abusive, shaking the baby, letting the baby just sit there and cry for hours, then that baby is going to develop a nervous system that has a sense of fear and mistrust of the world that it is growing up in. And that's going to carry into adult life. And when someone comes into psychotherapy and I hear language like, I'm not safe, or I want safety, I can't trust people, I can't, the world is dangerous. That is often a sign that something early, very young, wasn't fully the caregiving situation wasn't fully set up for that child to feel safe. And so those things can come from other things in life too. If you live, in a war, in an environment where war is happening, or you are in the military, and there was, all kinds of dangerous things happening, that can impact somebody's nervous system in the same way, or their mind. So anyway, human beings, are carrying around just simply pain, physical pain from having a human body, illness, aging, and the mind becoming more foggy as we get a little older. And then also these other things that we might be carrying around that lead to a sense of anxiety in the system. As most of us know, before we meditated, we didn't know that we had all this stuff going on in the body. And we just, from the neck up, we leaned forward into life and moved this way, a lot of us. And as we start to meditate, we lean back into our seat and we find that center place. And suddenly our awareness starts to move down into the body, and we find things that we didn't know were there. And we have all kinds of insights and all kinds of discoveries of what's happening in the body. One of those things being the breath, just simply the breath. Oh, wow, I have breath. Like intellectually I knew that was there, but now I actually have a direct experience of the breath being there. And now I know what it's like to breathe into the chest and actually breathe down further into the belly. And I found my belly breathing for the first time. Now, over our practice, now our unconscious system hides things from us because it knows that our mind is not ready to handle certain things. So most of our pain and our emotional discomfort and our trauma and our wounding and what we gain from previous lives is stored in what the Buddha called the what did he call it? The what? Laya? Yeah, there was the something consciousness. Storehouse consciousness. Yes, the storehouse consciousness, which Freud called just the unconscious. So there's so much down in there. As our practice develops and we expand our container for discomfort, the unconscious allows more and more of that material to arise so that we can work with it and continue our evolution as a being. Now, I won't go into karma a whole lot, but our evolution is not our evolution. Our evolution is one giant evolution that's happening. And the process of our part in this larger evolution as human beings is to dissolve more and more karma, to be more and more free and awake, to be more and more loving and compassionate, to have stillness, to have calmness, to have mental and physical and emotional relaxation, and to have that ultimate joy and happiness. And so we're all somewhere on this spectrum of this path of evolution towards our full realization of what this is in context of the larger thing. So that for those who are just watching or listening to this talk online after it's from the recording, I guided a relaxation meditation this morning so that we could actually practice relaxing, and I had everyone lay down and just do this progressive relaxation, and then I had everyone stand up and move forward on their toes, back on their heels, and then to the center, and experiment and explore a little bit with the different tensions that we hold in the body. So I have a lot of clients who come in with those complaints, and also all over the years I've heard people talk about that in this room here. How do I use my practice to be less angry, to be less aggressive, to not get so upset when I'm on the road in traffic with other people, to treat my partner better, to be less angry with myself. So this is an opportunity for us to check in. Where am I starting each day? What is the level of anxiety? What is the level of unsettledness that's just carrying around in my body all the time? And how can we use that how can we use our practice? So, coming to Shamatha. So the Buddha taught Shamatha and Vipassana meditations. Shamatha is often known as calm abiding, or peaceful, or tranquility, serenity. Those are words that are often found in the Buddhist texts around Shamatha. And then Vipassana meditation is the insight or wisdom meditation, or the experience of wisdom or insight. And so our Zazen, most of the time when we're talking about Zazen, we're talking about Shamatha meditation. So when we have a point of concentration, such as the breath in the body, or the breath here at the nostrils, which is the traditional Theravadan teaching for beginning meditation, or sounds, or emotions in the body, or physical sensations in the body, and we hold that as the point of concentration. And whenever we notice ourselves thinking, we bring the attention back to that point of concentration. That is shamatha practice. And in that practice, if we do that more and more and more, there tends to be this relaxation that happens in the system over time. And then that relaxation transitions eventually into, or takes the form of samadhi. And there's actually over 300 types of samadhi. And one of those forms of samadhi is this deep resonant vibration of the body. If you think about a cat purring. And so the more relaxed our system gets, the more it naturally goes into this vibration, into this purr. And it's a very wonderful, nice, peaceful feeling. Now that in and of itself is not going to take us to awakening or realization. But it is the ground, it is the fertile ground from which realization and insight spring. So if you think about you're trying to find some ground to plant a seed. I grew up in North Carolina. In North Carolina, we have a lot of red clay. That's really hard. I mean, you take a shovel into it, and you might as well be trying to shovel concrete. And you can put the shovel in it and jump up and jump on the sides of the shovel, and you maybe get like a few millimeters into this stuff. So if you try to plant a seed in this, you're not going to have much of a growth happening there. And the metaphor here is that when we are busy in our lives, and especially when we carry stress, so busyness isn't bad in itself if we know how to be relaxed within the busyness. But if we're not being relaxed within the busyness, then our brains become very stressed and our bodies become very stressed, and then we carry all this stress energy. And that kind of brain and that kind of body is not ripe for insight. It's not ripe for the realization of our true nature. So we go to retreats, we sit daily, we go to longer retreats, and as we sink into retreats, that stress fades away and our body starts to soften up. So now if you think about a bag of topsoil or some very fresh dirt up in the mountains in the middle of the summer that's underneath the pine layer, and it's just this fresh, nice brown soil with living things in it. It's very porous and just very soft. That's what happens in day 5 of an 8-day retreat or 7-day session. Is by around day 5, our brain and our body really softens up, and that shamatha meditation is really sinking in, and we're feeling much more relaxed. Everything is more at ease, and then the opportunities for insight start showing up. and people experience kenshos or even small insights into their nature, into patterns that they're engaged in their life that they couldn't see before, patterns in their relationships with others. People come to realizations about changes they need to make in their life, and it becomes very obvious and clear that, and it wasn't clear or obvious before. And so, and also in our practice here in this lineage, the koan practice is a form of insight practice, vipassana practice. And so in our meditation, we generally take shamatha or zazen as our main practice, and we have a point of concentration that's our main practice of some form. And we sit there, and then we let the koan arise. And then we're entering vipassana practice for a moment. And we let that arise, let it sit there for a moment, and then we let it fall away. And we go back into the shamatha. Or if you're doing mu, the mu becomes the shamatha. But at moments you have more of a question or a curiosity about what mu is. And then that's the insight moment, the insight meditation moment. So we might go in and out. More traditional forms of vipassana practice are questioning the who am I, which most spiritual traditions have that as one of their insight practices. Other insight practices include visualizing your own death and visualizing your own body decaying, visualizing yourself at your own funeral, and seeing people come and look at you in your own casket, or people watching you being cremated. And then that gets us really directly in touch with the experience of the dissolution of ourself. And there's a lot of other insight practices like that throughout the many traditions of Buddhism and beyond. So shamatha, how can you bring shamatha in your life off the cushion? I've been really looking into this practice of relaxation recently. And I did probably 2 or 3 hours of this practice with some folks yesterday. And I could really feel the difference in my body having done this for many hours with other people. And so yesterday I was walking into Natural Grocers to go pick something up. And my glutes and my hips were just very relaxed. And when I was walking inside, there was a speed that I just couldn't walk past. I could only walk slow. And I kind of felt into a little bit. I leaned forward a little bit and I said, okay, what would I have to do to walk faster? And my hips and my glutes had to instantly tension up to get me to move faster. And so it was a neat realization or insight into how my body works and how, what it might be like to be the Buddha. And I'll say a little more about that. So, I've had my own sort of realization experiences, and with each experience and each process of integrating those realization experiences, I've asked myself, how is this different from the Buddha? And of course, I'm not living in the time of the Buddha, but there was something very special about the Buddha. The Buddha could walk into a space and people would recognize something about him. And I have seen some people like that in my life, and the Zen teachers that I've had, other spiritual practitioners I've seen videos of. But the Buddha specifically, it wasn't until recently when I've been doing this practice of realization or of relaxation that I've taken on as its own practice, that I realized that one of the factors that made the Buddha was that his system was so deeply relaxed that he didn't have to try to relax. It was just relaxed. And when you watch a video, and this kicked in for me a few months ago when I watched a video of Thich Nhat Hanh, and I listened to his voice, and I watched as he talked and gave a talk, his system is incredibly relaxed. And he's not trying to relax it. I can watch his facial expressions and his body, and there's not this tensioning and then releasing. It's just released. He's just released. And so for me, it's like, okay, maybe I have certain insights into the nature of reality, into the nature of who I am and what I'm not. But I've really taken on this practice of what are these tensions inside my own system that are keeping me from experiencing true and deep relaxation. So I'll take us into this 7.5 hour session that I did on Wednesday. So for those of you who aren't aware, what is being called the fifth wave of psychotherapy is psychedelic assisted therapy. And so I have become a psychedelic assisted therapist. So I guide clients through psilocybin and other psychedelic journeys that take anywhere from 4 to 8 to 10 hours, depending on the amount of the substance that they use and kind of their own personal experiences. And so the research and the reality of psychedelic assisted therapy is that it is extremely effective, almost instantly healing for certain issues that people experience. And it's like an insight factory for those 5 to 7 hours that people are moving through the process, especially if there's someone guiding them through that process. And then also doing integration work afterwards. So after I do a long session with a client, we meet for multiple hours after, like multiple times during the week afterwards, and process all the stuff that came up. And here's one of the things I'm noticing in this, with psilocybin experiences specifically, is there's generally a buildup. There's a nice positive experience that people feel in their bodies at first, which for a lot of people connects them for the first time with the whole experience of their body. So it really turns on the body. And it's a nice thing for a while. But then there's this tension that builds up. There's a tension that builds up, and then there's some kind of insight that comes out of that, or some type of release from the body. And it's a tension that they've held, and as they're experiencing the tension, there can be an image that arises, like some kind of trauma from their past, or some type of event with their father where their father was very critical, or something. And they go through this tension, and then there's this release, and it could be a scream, it could be shaking in the body, it could be a, "Dad, that is not okay." It could be something like that. And then boom, they drop into this very deep relaxation. And I'm there to help guide them through both parts of that, through the intensity, and I use therapeutic techniques to help them work through the emotional stuff that's coming up. But on the down, then I help them actually really fully sink into the full experience of relaxation. And in that, they will say, "I have never felt this level of peace before." And then I ask them to take a snapshot of that and really feel that in their body and see what that feels like in their body, so that now when they go into their life, they know when they are not that. And they have some idea of what they can get back to. So where I'm going with this, as Zen practitioners, you've heard this phrase spiritual bypassing before. Spiritual bypassing means we're using our practice to actually avoid our psychological and emotional stuff, where really the practice of Zen is at first to learn how to concentrate the mind, how to relax the mind, how to make connection with the body. And that's where a lot of people first initially come to Zen practice, is to learn how to relax and work with their minds and feel more at ease. But then if people continue on in their Zen practice and actually enter Zen training, then we start going deeper into the body and releasing these old things that we're carrying around, which most of them are some form of fear. So when I had y'all standing, when I asked y'all to stand and you leaned forward on your toes, and then you leaned forward and then you leaned back on your heels, in both of those experiences, there's often, for most people, when I do this practice with folks, there's much more of a sense of I'm here. I know where I am when I'm leaning forward or when I'm leaning back, because there's pressure, there's tension. And that tension is the aspect that we think of as ourself. And there's different tensions that we carry around that we don't know we're carrying around that are this agenda of the ego, this fear, these fears that are the self. And then when we come into the center and we relax our knees and we relax our hips and everything becomes more relaxed, there can almost be of like, whoa, where did I go? There's just kind of like a space, and there's an emptiness, and there's relaxation. And so relaxation, what I'm finding more and more, is actually scary for people. It can be scary because in that relaxation, we can immediately find that existential fear, that fear of our own non-existence. So I'll finish up here in just a moment so we can have some discussion. I just wanted to read a couple things maybe. So in the Nikayas, in the Abhidharma, or actually this is the Tripitaka in the Anguttara Nikaya, the Buddha talks about four kinds of persons. There's those who gain serenity without insight. So shamatha without the vipassana. There's those who gain insight without serenity. There's those who gain neither. And then there are those who gain both. So like I said, a lot of people will come to Zen practice and serenity is what they were looking for. And that's a fine way to practice Zen for one's entire Zen practice. Is just learning to relax, just learning to feel some peace. That's wonderful. And then we have a lot of people who come here because of psychedelic experiences or because of some kind of trauma in their life, or maybe they did meditate a little on their own. They show up to Zen centers and they actually already have some deep insight about reality in their world, but their bodies are still chaotic. And so there's a lot of practice that they come to do to actually learn how to settle their bodies down and then integrate that insight that they already had into their lives. And then those who are gained neither, and so that's probably what we think of as sort of your average human out there who doesn't really have much insight to who they are, and they don't have much of a relaxation practice or a serenity practice in their life. And then there's who have gained both. And what the Buddha suggested was, for the people who gain serenity without insight, is to go find someone who can help them gain insight. And for those that have insight but lack serenity, is to go find somebody who can help them gain serenity. And for those who have neither, to go find someone who can help you do both. And for those that have both, is to go start looking at your deep stuff. One more teaching from the Buddha was the 7 factors of enlightenment. And the Buddha taught mindfulness, investigation, vigor, rapture, tranquility, concentrated absorption, and equanimity. So I think Roshi gave a talk on these a few years ago, or maybe recently again, but tranquility, number 5. So that's what I was talking about. That difference between what I see in myself and what I see in the Buddha. There's many differences, but one of them would be this very deep, deep state of relaxation that's just pervasive and no longer needs to be cultivated. It's It's just how his body resonates. So let me see if there's anything else. Yeah, I'll finish by saying that that laying down practice that we did today together is something that I'm doing on a daily basis now. So I do seated meditation, but I also do laying down meditation. So sometimes I'll see 8 clients in a day, and I might have 20 minutes in between 2 sessions or something, and I'll just lay down on my side and I'll practice that relaxation, shamatha, and I just feel re-energized and ready to go again. I'm ready to go for my next 4 sessions. Also, it's how I go to sleep every night. So when I lay in bed, I say my 4 vows, I do a couple stretches, and then I lay on my side and I do that relaxation practice to go to sleep. And when I can't sleep sometimes, I wake up in the middle of the night, I just lay there and I do that relaxation practice in my body, and I just look for where the tension is building and then let it relax again. And I have seen connections between when I'm thinking and I get in a thought stream, something in my body will tense up. And then as soon as I let go of that thought stream, I can feel my neck tight, I can feel my head tight, and I relax again. And I fall into the pillow and just let myself be held. Yeah, I think I'll finish there. Yeah, thanks for listening.